When a little girl's cat had kittens, they disappeared. After a couple of days, she asked her mother what happened to them, and her mother said, God took them. Months later, the cat again had a litter of kittens. Her mother sent her out to run some errands, but before she left, she wanted to play with the kittens again. She heard her father coming, carrying a bucket, and she hid from him. She watched while her father put the kittens in a sack and drowned them in the bucket. Later, the girl again asked her mother what happened to the kittens. Her mother said again, God took them. Several days later, the mother asked the girl to watch her brother in the bathtub while she answered the phone. When the mother returned, she started screaming. The baby was upside down the tub and was not moving at all. What happened to him? What happened to him? The little girl standing there vividly said, God took him. A young woman was walking down the street when she saw an old blind man coming towards her. He was stooped over and wore dark glasses and a cane. He seemed to be having trouble walking, and when he was passing by her, he almost fell over. She grabbed his arm and helped him keep his balance. He thanked her for her kindness. Then he asked the young woman if she could do a favor for him.
Could you please deliver this letter for me?
The blind man said,
I am old and disabled, and I have a terrible time finding my way around the city.
Being a nice person, the girl agreed to help him, and he handed her a letter with an address scrawled on the front. As the young woman turned to walk away, she happened to glance back and saw the blind man walking down the street quite quickly, with his cane tucked under his arm. Then, to her surprise, the blind man took off his dark glasses and casually tossed them into the garbage. Suspicious, the woman took the envelope to a nearby police station. The police went to the address on the letter, which turned out to be a butcher shop owned by an old couple. All seemed perfectly ordinary until the police asked the old couple to open the large refrigerator in the back of the shop. Surprised, the old couple refused to do so, so the police had to break it open. Inside, they were confronted by a horrible scene. There were dead bodies strung up on meat hooks and shelves stacked high with chunks of human flesh. Until now, the police had overlooked the letter which the mysterious blind man had given the woman. When they opened the envelope, a piece of paper inside contained one chilling line. This is the last one I'm sending you today. The police are still looking for the supposedly blind man, but he's nowhere to be found. One evening, a woman came home late from work. She put her handbag down on the kitchen table and started rooting through it. Then she realized she didn't have her mobile phone with her. She couldn't remember the last time she had it. I must have lost it on the way home, she thought to herself. She went into the hallway, picked up her home phone, and dialed the number of her mobile. The phone rang for a long time, and then someone picked up, but they didn't say anything. "Hello?" said the woman. There was no answer, but she could hear someone breathing on the other end. "Hello? Can you hear me?" she said. There was still no answer, but the breathing got heavier. "Hello? Can you hear me?" the woman asked again. Then, in a low voice, the person on the other end said,
"I hear you."
Then they hung up. After that, the woman kept calling her mobile, but nobody picked up. Eventually, she gave up in frustration. It was late and she decided to go to bed. When she went upstairs to her bedroom, she was shocked to see her mobile phone sitting on her nightstand. It was on silent mode.
"I hear you. Can you hear me now?"
It was her eyes that first attracted me to her. I didn't believe in love, but the first time I gazed into her beautiful green eyes, I knew she was the one. I loved seeing myself reflected in those eyes, looking deep into her soul and knowing I was part of it. It's kinda stupid, but I even wrote poetry about them. I don't remember much, but I told her, "There's so much life within your eyes and so much love." Oh God, I loved the way the light danced within them. I just couldn't imagine not being able to stare dreamingly into them. Now, if I could just find a box that was half as beautiful as her eyes, I could finally stop carrying them around in my pocket. In Mexico, there was a small town that had a population of less than 500 people. It was the kind of small town where everyone knew everyone else by the name, and everybody knew everybody else's business. In this town, two young boys who were twin brothers lived. Their mother never disciplined them, and the two boys were constantly misbehaving. Everyone in town knew of them, and they were nicknamed the Evil Twins, because they were always the cause of everything bad that happened there. They were even suspected of killing some of the cats and dogs in the village, but the police could never prove it. One Sunday, an old man died in his home. While the priest and the undertaker were outside, waiting to transport the body to the cemetery, the twins peeked in the back window. When they saw the corpse, they immediately wanted to take a closer look. The twin boys didn't care about disturbing the dead, so they broke into the house and started playing around with the corpse. One of the boys moved its mouth like a puppet, while the other poked its eyes out with a stick. While they were playing, the twins heard footsteps. Afraid of getting caught, they put the corpse back in the coffin, but they couldn't find a place to hide. Just as the priest was opening the door, the boys jumped into the coffin with the dead body and closed the lid. The priest and the pallbearers carried the coffin to the cemetery where the funeral was being held. They noticed that the coffin was heavier than usual, but never bothered to look inside. Nobody realized that the twins were missing until the coffin was being lowered into the grave. That's when the mother of the twin boys appeared at the cemetery and asked if anyone had seen them. The funeral was halted, and all the people began searching the area. Some of the men recalled the weight of the coffin while they were carrying it, and said that the boys might have hidden inside. The coffin was lifted out of the grave, and the men opened the lid. Inside, they found the twin boys lying on top of the dead man. The hands of the corpse were tied around their throats. They had both been strangled to death.